I wrote a piece for Energy Intelligence, and I said this is the Trump revolution. Stand by. And again, love him, hate him, doesn't matter. This is revolutionary, and if you don't understand that, then this is not business as usual. This is a completely different approach towards governance, for better or worse. I'm not here to praise it. I'm just saying straight up what the facts are. We are jettisoning decades of establishment, bureaucratic hostage taking of the American democratic process. Now, I don't know if this is liberation or further incarceration. Maybe Pepe can weigh in on that, but I think we have to understand right off the bat that you have to wipe your brain of everything you thought you knew about how America was governed, because for at least the next 4 years, until the American people get a chance to vote again on who will be president, this is how this is going to work. To answer your question about Ukraine, it's interesting, because the way I view this is Trump just gave Putin 90 days to win the war. Basically, he's telling Putin, I'm cutting off aid. You got to do what you got to do in 90 days, because afterwards we're going to do a review. And if we don't have some sort of agreement by then, we will have to consider how we want to go forward. That's how I'm interpreting it. Now, I'm not saying that Putin's going, yeah, I'm all for that. I don't think Putin really gives a damn. I don't think the Russians give a damn about this. They will do what they need to do. But Putin did meet with his national security team and say he's looking forward to talking with President Trump about Ukraine. And I think while this 90 days of frozen aid to Ukraine is being implemented, there will be a meeting, or at least a conversation, between Putin and Trump, maybe several conversations. And I think that there is an agreement to be reached. This is also a message to Zelensky and to Europe and to NATO that they just simply don't have a vote in any of this. They don't matter. They don't count. This is about the United States and Russia coming up with a deal. I mean, Trump basically put Europe on notice, NATO on notice. 5% or die. And NATO can't make the 5%. And Trump knows this. And so this is basically Trump signaling to NATO, it's over. It's finished. It's time to understand that, and maybe we can break up amicably, or we can do it the hard way. But the bottom line is, again, 80 years of or whatever, that's not 80, 75 years, I think was the anniversary of American NATO relationship is finished. It's over. And this is the brave new world that we're entering into.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, because during Trump's inauguration address, Scott, he didn't mention Ukraine, Russia, any of it, not once. What did you make of that? Because the only foreign policy remarks he gave were almost offhand about the Panama Canal and China owning it. But that almost seemed like he was just talking at that point, that was a little bit off the cuff. And it wasn't really about any kind of specific foreign policy initiative or goal. But Ukraine, not one word.
Trump was speaking to the American people about the domestic problems that we have here in America and his solutions to these problems. Again, this isn't judgment on my part. I'm not sitting here saying anything other than the facts. The facts are the president spoke to the American people, especially those who elected him, and said, I am going to get the things done that I told you I was going to try and get done domestically. Foreign policy, that's a conversation between Trump and the respective foreign leaders that he's going to deal with. It's not a conversation between Trump and the American people. And I think that's one of the reasons why you didn't hear so much about foreign policy in this speech. Or in the speeches. And I think you're going to see that that's going to be his approach going forward, that this isn't going to be asking the American people permission to do something overseas. This is a man who is going to embody the concept of unitary executive, again, for better or worse, and move forward as he sees fit when it comes to how America interfaces with the nations that represent the biggest problems to the United States, at least as Donald Trump views the world. And again, I just want to remind everybody, there's only one viewpoint that counts right now in Donald Trump's America, and that's Donald Trump's. And I'm not happy with it. I believe that America, was founded on, constitutional principles of, the separation of powers, checks and balances. I've never been a fan of the unitary executive, but also I have to recognize that America today is fundamentally broken, and that we're so broken that the owner's manual doesn't work anymore. And now we're paying the price. We are getting a man who has autocratic tendencies in charge at a time when Americans are willing, apparently, to tolerate a lot of autocratic tendencies.
Yeah, and I'm not holding my breath. There's a long way to go. There's a long way for the Trump administration to be belligerent. And right now, it seems like, though, that the Trump administration's big focus is to shift the U.S. foreign policy agenda away from Ukraine. That is quite clear. So, but one thing I wanted to ask you, Scott, was how then are these early talks going to happen between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump? Because after the inauguration, that was one of the first things that came out, was that his team, his administration is going to engage in this. How do you think this is going to transpire?
Remember, it takes two to tango. And clearly the U.S.-Russia relationship is a two-way street, not a one-way street. So right off the bat, it's not going to be dictated by Donald Trump. It will be a negotiation with the Russians on, how they're going to talk, what forum, etc. Both sides want to talk, so it isn't going to be a difficult negotiation. I do believe it's going to start off as a phone call and maybe a couple phone calls, but I do think a physical meeting within this 90-day window is a necessity to advance this cause. This war is going to end not because policy experts in the United States have dictated some sort of, terms that Russia is going to have to accept. This war is going to end because Vladimir Putin sat down with Donald Trump, and they have a frank exchange of ideas. I think that Trump can put a lot on the table that would be attractive to Vladimir Putin that goes beyond simply Ukraine. And this is important because, again, when we speak of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine, sometimes we become too hyper-focused on the Russian troops on Ukrainian soil, and we forget that the reason this happened was, for instance, NATO expansion. The primary objective here is to keep NATO out of Ukraine. That's something Trump apparently has already recognized as a problem and is apparently willing to accept. This is a major shift in policy direction for the United States. And the other thing is, the Russians were always talking about, again, remember December of 2021, December 17th to be exact, Russia put two draft treaties on the table, one with NATO, one with the United States, speaking about the need to create a European security framework. And again, I think that Trump, given his attachment or lack thereof to NATO and European institutions and American-European entanglements, Trump is more than happy to sit down with Russia and say, hey, what can we do to make Europe, a safe and secure place for everybody? And so I think, Putin, those are his strategic objectives. And in many cases, what's happening in Ukraine are more tactical and operational to achieve these strategic objectives. So if Trump is able to just jump over and say, we can accomplish many of your strategic objectives, but we have to bring this thing to an end, I think you'll see that the Russians are able to do that which they are able to do constitutionally. That means that there won't be a frozen front line. There won't be, European troops patrolling the borders and things like that. Russia has some very simple things. What is Russia is Russia, and they need the West to recognize that. The U.S. has already indicated early on that lifting sanctions, at least some of the sanctions against Russia, might be a way of signaling, how the future could be. I just think there's a lot of room for very constructive discussions between these two men, but these are discussions that will take place between these two men. Once they discuss and they build the framework, then they'll turn the floor over to the, to Keith Kellogg and Ushakov and others who will, nail down the details. But this is going to be solved by Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump.
Scott, do you foresee the pressure? There will be a lot of pressure coming from neocons, NATO, the entirety of Europe, but even big elements inside of Washington too, who want to see this conflict continue in some way. What do you think is going to happen in terms of the pressure? It's a whole new day. It's not 2016 anymore. It's not 2018 Helsinki when Putin and Trump met. It's a very different geopolitical landscape. But do you think that the pressure may be too much for Trump to be able to get something like this done?
No, we're dealing with a dictator right now. Danny, he just revoked the security clearance of John Bolton and 51 people who signed a letter he didn't like. Okay, Donald Trump, this is the thing people need to understand. He controls security clearance. He's finally woken up to that reality. And of the people that he revoked, these are former directors of the CIA who historically come back and advise the CIA and administrations on sensitive matters. These are people who, had the crown jewels read to them. They know everything. And he said, you're not part of the system anymore. You're done. I just gave you how he's going to handle dissent. There's a good chance that they're going to revoke the security clearances of every member of Congress who was on the J6 committee. Do you understand what's happening here? This isn't unconstitutional. It's not the way I'd like to see things happen. It's, I believe in free speech and dissent and all this stuff. I'm just telling you how the Donald Trump approach is going to be. If you get in my way and I deem it to be inconsistent with your duties and responsibilities, as an American, official, I'll just revoke your clearance. And he has the sole authority to do that. The president of the United States is the ultimate determiner of what is classified and what isn't, and who has access to this and who doesn't. To give you an example, if I don't have security clearances. If I were invited to the White House and they brought in a document that's classified top secret code word and the president thought that I needed to have access to it, he doesn't have to ask permission of anybody. He can pull that document out and go, yeah, I declassified here, read it. And that's it. It's done. But if I walk in and I have all the security clearances in the world and the president decides that my behavior is inconsistent, he can just say, I revoke your security clearance. You're done. And there's nothing I can do about it. So he knows. I'm just telling you, this is a whole new presidency. He learned a lot from the first 4 years. This guy was screwed royally by the establishment, by the deep state, by, the neocons, by the think tank, by all those people who didn't want him to succeed. They no longer count. And if you look at Marco Rubio, okay, go back.
I don't want to look at him. No, but keep going.
Well, go look at all the statements that boy made leading up to their anti-Trump statements, strong this, strong that. He is Donald Trump's pet poodle because he finally understands the name of the game. And the name of the game is I serve Donald Trump. Now, I'd like to believe is I serve the Constitution. And because Trump is president, Trump is the guy that is invested with these powers. But the fact of the matter is, you will not last in this Trump government if you don't do exactly what Trump tells you to do. And I'm sad to say, even if that, brings in things that shouldn't be done under the Constitution. We all saw the executive order he signed about birthright, citizen birthright. I mean, we're now going to get involved in a major. He even got a Kamala Harris, a paragraph in there. And again, I'm no fan of Kamala Harris. I'm really not. I'm so happy And for all the people, just so you guys know, for all the people out there bitching and moaning about Donald Trump, Kamala Harris would have killed you all within 6 months. So screw you. Okay, she was going to take us down a path that led to a nuclear war with Russia. End of story. No debate. That was the direction we're heading. So as bad as this, whatever you want to call this thing that's happening with Trump, at least it's got entertainment value that won't get us killed in the next 4 years. I say entertainment value. I mean, it's not good. I mean, I felt my heart broke for the immigrants who had the app closed down and now they don't even have their appointments. This is a whole new world. Whatever you thought America was isn't anymore. It's changed. But, he signed this executive order about birthrights. I don't think it's going to survive constitutional scrutiny. But then again, you never know. He has stacked the Supreme Court with a majority of conservative justices who are scared to death of this man. Remember, they're the ones who said you can commit any crime as president and we can't touch you. So you think he really cares about the Supreme Court? He wants the Supreme Court to rubber stamp everything he does, and he's expecting that. I'm against that. I believe the Supreme Court should be an independent arbiter of constitutionality. But we're in a brave new world. I liken it because people always say, well, it sounds like you're defending Trump. No, but have you ever seen those movies, Danny, where, like a mountain climbing movie, the two climbers are going up and, they fall. I mean, we even saw it in, one of my favorite movies, the Avengers, Infinity Stones or Endgame. I think it was Endgame. And they're holding on to each other. You got to cut the rope. I'm never going to cut the rope. If you don't cut the rope, we both go down. I'm never going to cut the rope, but to save the one, they cut the rope and the person dies. I believe America's at that point. All the things that are nice in terms of, wokeness or whatever you want to call it, all the peripheral stuff is dragging us down. I want it. I believe it needs to happen, but we are literally off the cliff, hanging down there, and we got to shed the stuff that's going to kill us. And Trump right now is the guy with the knife, and he's looking at the ropes attached to things, and he's cutting. He's cutting all the things that he blames for bringing America down. And I want to live. So I'm willing to let him cut. And I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but we're at the point right now where America is fundamentally broken. We are headed down a path of civil war or self-destruction, so all the things you say what America stands for, all the things I say what America stands for, don't matter if we're gone, if we're finished. And so this is a revolutionary moment. And that's why I called it a revolution afterwards. And it's revolutionary domestically, and it's revolutionary in terms of foreign policy. This is about trying to stop a sinking ship from going under. This is about doing emergency repairs, plugging holes, making hard decisions. And it's going to piss a lot of people off, including myself. I'm planning on starting something, going in. It's basically a Trump report card, because here's the thing. I voted for the guy, and I'm not going to sit back and just say, do what you want. I still believe that the people that we vote have to be held accountable for what they do in our name. And so I'm going to hold this guy accountable for what he does in my name. And I think every American should, but we also have to understand the context of this. This isn't like, he's taking, a smoothly functioning society and trying to break it. He's taking a fundamentally broken society and trying to save it. Whether he'll make the right decisions or not, we don't know. But, I think we do have to understand that whatever we thought America was isn't, at least for the next 4 years. It's going to be something totally different.
Yeah. Well, we will have to see. There are, for me, when you say a revolution, for me, I believe that we are indeed in a revolutionary moment. This is a moment in U.S. history that is unprecedented. And I believe Donald Trump is playing a very particular role. There's a reason why he gets voted in. There's a reason why he is taking the positions he's taking. And I don't agree with most of the policies that he pushes. Definitely not, because ultimately he comes from a particular class, and we saw the billionaires, the oligarchs who are all there. He's going to serve those people. But when it comes on this fundamental issue of Ukraine, this fundamental the U.S.'s standing in the world, I don't believe he'll necessarily succeed in reversing this decline that he says he's going to reverse. But I do believe that he actually wants to try. And what that looks like is going to be what we should be preparing for, because it will look like, on the one hand, maybe pulling out of Ukraine, and on the other hand, who really knows? It could be many different avenues, and they could spell disaster. They could spell belligerence. They could spell the opposite in some respects. But I believe that's what we should be preparing.
Now, let me just make a point to you and to your chat, which I shouldn't be reading, but I always sneak a peek in every now and then. Guys, again, say what you want. On your bingo card, after Trump won, did you think Hamas would be parading down the streets of Gaza today cheering?
It's an incredible scene.
How many of you thought that would happen? And the answer is zero. Zero. And you know why it happened? Donald J. Trump. Only Donald J. Trump. So I just don't have any sympathy or tolerance for you. It doesn't mean that I support what he's doing, but for people to say he can't do it, he's not going to do it, he won't do it, he did it, and nobody saw it coming. And there's going to be so much other things happening that you ain't saw coming, because this is not Donald Trump circa 2017. That guy spent 4 years getting screwed by an establishment he's now declaring war on. You want to know why I'm happy about Donald Trump today, Danny? Because he signed 2 executive orders. One said, get the intelligence stuff. Oh, I can't use that word. The heck out of
I saw that
the rise of Americans who are speaking freely. Stop politicizing the justice system to go after people who dissent against government policy. And 2, free speech, defending free speech. Those 2 things. And again, you guys understand, did you have the FBI send 40 freaking guys into your house? If you didn't, shut up. You don't have a say in this discussion now. I did. You know why they came in my house? Because the government under the Biden administration wasn't happy with what I was saying. And they were trying to shut me down and intimidate me. The government was working with the Ukrainian government to silence me, to pull me off of social media channels because I dared challenge the official narrative. So, yeah, I'm a little happy about this, because those 2 things can pave the way for getting the Department of Justice the hell out of my life, getting the FBI the hell out of my house, getting all the stuff they took back, including all you people go, Scott Ritter was great about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We think it's so. They took the freaking archive. They took the archive. I want it back because it's mine, not theirs. That's the truth. And they stole it, not Trump. Biden stole it. Okay? So, yeah, this is a little personal here. It's very personal here. And I just have to say that therefore, before the grace of God, go you. There, but for the grace of God, go you. Because all you people out there putting your little brave statements in the comments section, understand that there are consequences for free speech, apparently. And you never know when the government's going to turn on you. I will be the staunchest defender of free speech if Trump turns on people. And I will. Because I know what it's like to have the FBI weaponized against you, the Department of Justice weaponized against you, the federal government. They took my passport in violation of my constitutional rights, denying me the ability to freely travel. I have been invited to many, many, many places since the summer of 2024, and I can't go because I don't have a passport. And now the government's playing stupid games. Because when we approach them and we say, we want to talk about the passport that you took, they say, well, do you have a receipt? Well, they didn't give me a receipt. Well, without a receipt, how do we know we took your passport? See, now they're playing that game. And that game's going to end. That game's going to end. But guys, it can happen to you. So stop defending what the disease that left the White House yesterday. I'm not saying you have to sing the praises. The disease. I hope not. No, Joe Biden is a disease.
Yeah, no, but I hope people are defending him. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's so many people who are, because if you're condemning Trump, what are you doing? You're saying that's good. This was a black and white situation. You either voted for Biden, who's going to kill us, or Kamala Harris, who's going to kill us, or Trump, and we don't know what the hell Trump's going to do. But I have to tell you, the man delivered, whether you agree with him or not. I mean, one of the greatest, I think, litmus tests was J6. And I'm not sitting here saying it's a good thing to beat up cops, and I'm not here saying anything. I'm just saying that he said he was going to pardon the J6 crowd. And that was one of those litmus tests, because even leading up to his inauguration, he was like going, well, there might be some guys that I don't want to, we're going to look at them. We're going to do this. Blanket pardon, gone. I think when Trump says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And this is the new Donald Trump. He's not scared of Congress. He's not scared of the Department of Justice, because he had 4 years where he sort of cowered. I mean, he cowered. He wasn't aggressive. He was nervous. He was this. The man was impeached twice. Impeached twice. You think he's afraid of anything Congress can do to him right now? No, he's broken the code. He has a mandate to govern the way he wants to govern. And he's going to do it. That doesn't mean we have to roll over and play dead, but we just have to understand that this is a different presidency than 2017.
Yeah, for me, I will always, of course, criticize Donald Trump from the past and now the present for whatever he does, which is antithetical to peace and to justice and all of that, that we stand by our principles. However, we cannot oppose, and I think it's foolish to oppose everything that you said about your circumstance, Scott. I mean, I was feeling it when that happened to you. I was about to travel. I was like, oh, well, look at that. Everyone associated, because that's how it works here. That's if it's happening to one person, then it could happen to you. And so I would never oppose any policies, regardless of whatever we think the reason is, because, people always want to debate, well, what's the reasoning for why this is happening? It doesn't matter. The fact is that Donald Trump is president. You got a ceasefire. You got talks with Putin. He called China before he called Xi Jinping before he was even president. Those things I will never condemn. Why would I condemn that?
It was a good conversation with Xi Jinping.
It was a good
conversation. You know how you know it was a good conversation? Read the Chinese readout.
Yep.
Read how the Chinese talk about this. Because normally when there's a conversation of this nature, you got the White House spinning it, or oh, we did this, that, and the other side's like, well, we picked up the phone, we said a few words, and then we hung up the phone. Meaning that they're not buying into any of the spin that the White House puts on it. This time the White House put a positive spin on it, but then you read the Chinese and you're like, wow, that's a real positive spin. I mean, the Chinese liked this conversation, liked what they heard, and were optimistic about working with Trump going forward. So I'm we'll again, like you, there. There's things that are being done that it's like triage, and the people that it's being done to, it's bad. I mean, if we're a broken state and we're trying to strap on all these peripherals, it's just friction. It's dragging us down. It's hastening the fall. So clip on the rope. It's tragic for the people falling down into the abyss. There's no denying that. But if you don't clip, the whole thing's going to come down. And that's where we're at today in society. At least that's the way the majority of Americans view it.